So there's 4 different types of definition context here. And it looks like Jim told me to take my time on this, and I am. So I'm squeezing a little bit out of our group time. I'm a little bit over here, but that's okay. I think there'll still be plenty of time for us today. So there's 4 different types of context, really 3, because I'm going to eliminate one in a second here. The scoping context, agency or domain context, time context, and then data system context. So the example here is like I have address. So the scoping context might be context. One of the things might be street, right? So the street is a limiting scope for that term. Current address street might be a time context limiting scope. So it's saying that it's the current one, or maybe it's former. Who knows? Current billing address street is adding sort of an agency domain context. So this is, the scope of this is just we're talking about the street within the address. We're talking about it being the current time context, but now we're talking about its use in billing. Okay. Or maybe it's an agency type thing. So current federal tax residence address street. So we're getting really specific. There's sort of like an agency and a thing here for that. So that sort of gives you some sense there. Now, I said 4, but I meant 3, and I already spoiled that you don't really want to have the data system context in here. You can save that to put that in the definition, in the technical definition, if you've got some specific thing there. Now, it might be that you have some time context that's very specific to like a census database or a census extract or something that it's one-to-one with the database, and that's okay. It just means that your data system shares the same context as of the definition, but you want to avoid having data system context. So in the glossary name. So you can do the same thing here with enrollment status. This is where don't be afraid of clarity and specificity on the naming. So enrollment status. I actually I've used this example for a while, but I've sort of changed my opinion on it. I think it's poorly named. So this is defined as enrollment status. I think there's ambiguity there. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the actual values of the status codes that we have? Are we talking about an actual status of a student's enrollment at this institution? So it's okay. We've defined enrollment status and we've said that this is what this is. The enrollment status is the status of a student's enrollment at this institution in regards to registration for a specific term. It might be better defined as student term enrollment status. Now, you don't have to do that. You can have this up. Maybe this is a synonym, student term enrollment status to enrollment status. But you also then have to say, if someone is just asking, what's the list of enrollment statuses that we have, or what, that there's not confusion. Maybe you have enrollment status code or codes as another thing. But anyway, that's a little thought on that. But here you have the same sort of thing: student term enrollment status, current student term enrollment status, student current term enrollment status. Now that's a little bit interesting, right? And these aren't saying that you absolutely need to use these exact terminology, but it's important to think about these things. The difference between current student term enrollment status and student current term enrollment status, this is where there can be some complexity. Are you talking about for any given term, what's their current enrollment status? Or are you talking about for a student, what's the enrollment status of the current term? Okay. Again, you can, this is where you don't have to follow these exact examples, but these are things that you want to think about when writing it. And I also want to say that from a pragmatic standpoint, that looking at this stuff, you can suddenly get oh my gosh, this is so hard, I'm never going to be able to do that. It is perfectly fine, and part of what you want to cultivate in your culture to do your best at a definition and go ahead and get it approved out there, right? Because now you've sort of thrown some spaghetti up against the wall. You define what you think it is. And if someone's coming along and trying to write the report against it, and they say this isn't specific enough, I need something, or someone has a question about it and they want to make a revision or a change, or that's great. Let that happen. Let it come. But you will never, you're never going to have that conversation unless you put something out there. So, but the more you can think about these types of challenges, the better that the better you'll do.